What the fuck is going on?
Dude, these people are fucking sick, man.
These people are sick.
Jesus Christ.
But man, I guess we could probably get into like one kind of real topic and
we could actually do our fucking jobs here and fucking talk about something real.
I mean, it's kind of related though, and I'll get us there, in time. But I guess I'll start it off by we've been talking about jobs recently. And I mentioned to you last week that I found a job and I really enjoy it now. I like the guy I work with. We've got similar interests and stuff, and it's been going pretty good.
That's still going good, yeah.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good, but the only thing that's so one thing happened last week that's been the first thing that's made me be like, oh, that's a red flag. And what it was we're at work and we're just talking because it's just me and him most of the time working. And so he's just like, asking how my family's doing, blah, blah, stuff. And we start talking about the South, Alabama, whatever. And I'm telling him, this, that, and the third about growing up in the South. And he asked, were you raised in the church? And I was like, yeah, I was raised Protestant, this and that, the other. And we don't, we keep working. Nothing comes up for a little while. About 30 minutes later, he comes over and he's like, so, you heard what's going on with Fox News?
Oh, no.
And I was like, what? And he goes, you hear what's going on with Fox? You know about Fox News? And I was like, I mean, I know about them, but what do you mean?
They ain't got a lot to say.
He was like, they're in the news right now. Like, you know about that? And I was like, no, I just know they're a news company. And he was like, yeah, well, apparently, they've been pushing this big election fraud situation line for a while. And the voting machine company now, Dominion, is now talking to him. And I'm just sitting here looking at him with a blank face because I'm like, I haven't heard about this news cycle yet until he brought it up to me. So, like, it's new to me. Yeah. I know people don't like Fox News. I know about this or whatever. But
people are concerned about Dominion voting systems company.
Right. He said
a good name dragged through the dirt.
Yeah, like
the good name and definitely not evil sounding name of Dominion.
Yeah.
We all know and love from Bernie Sanders' episode in Iowa.
Literally, dude. Dominion in fucking shadow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sorry, I'm totally derailing you.
But anyway, so we're talking about it, and he's telling me this, and I'm like sitting there blank face because I couldn't give a fuck, and also I don't even know what he's talking about. And he's telling me, he's like, yeah, but, all these other news agencies are now reporting that, Tucker Carlson has been lying about this. And, basically everyone on Fox News, they knew this was a lie they were reporting, and they still kept reporting it and all this and all that.
CNN just broke the news that Tucker Carlson been lying.
Right. How crazy is that?
Is that hot off the press? Because that sounds like it's hot off the press, dude.
It sounds like breaking news to me, and it's shocking.
Dude, did they? Is it a bombshell? Are they slamming Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, bombshell witness coming in. No. So he goes on to continue to tell me this, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really, I don't really deal with the news too much. I try to stay out of it. I don't have a dog in that race. And he's like, yeah, I get that. It's just like, there's, one side is obviously pushing this line. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I think both sides push a line and then they both benefit from it. And then, whoever's interest it is, they just kind of act on their own interest. And sometimes it lines up for them to tell the truth about a competitor in this scenario. And so we kind of die off or whatever. And
did that go over all right?
Well, he was just kind of like, oh, okay. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really watch the news. Because what he says, well, I don't know where you get your news from. Is kind of what he followed up that conversation.
Really fast. I mean, what was the tone of when you told him that you were raised Protestant?
Just generally, like, it was just in the middle of a conversation, like it was no problem. Like, it was just like,
right.
He was just asking, about, like, I was telling him about coming from Alabama.
Is he religious?
It doesn't come up, but based on that, I think probably not. Based on his Fox News tirades, I imagine probably not. But so he's going on about it, and he finishes that up when I'm telling him, yeah, I don't really know about all that. First time hearing about it. And he's like, well, I don't know where you get your news from. And I told him, well, I don't really do that. I don't really do the news. Like, I try to stay out of it as much as possible because I feel like it's just not worth it for me to know about it. Like,
Right.
it's just a bunch of endless shit, and like they're probably propagandizing on whether any side or any news site. So like, I don't want to dig through all that and waste all my time to get through like a nugget of truth I already probably know because I have generalized, ideas of what's going on.
Yeah, because you're not a fucking retard.
Right, because that's what I'm more of a generals guy than a specifics in that scenario. Like,
Right.
and I told him, I was like, I try not to get bogged down in the details, and he's like, yeah, it's just like it's good to know what's going on in the world, though, right? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I try to just. I told him, I said, I just try to focus on tending to my own garden, like just working on like what's in
Yeah.
my sphere of influence, like if it's people around me that I love, like I have my principles that I stick to, and then
Right.
I just make sure that I do that to the ability that I can within my own scope of influence.
Right.
And he kind of is like, yeah, no, that's a good thing. It's just like it's good to know, like with like global adversaries or like whatever just going on. And I was like, I mean, I know
Global
about the
adversary.
Ukraine, dude. I said that. I was like, I know about like Ukraine and Russia,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, what I mean, but like, what am I gonna do about that? I don't know. And because I'm trying to be real, like I'm not trying to be confrontational. Like I'm not
But you're
trying
not
to.
but you're not trying to agree to shit that you also don't fucking agree
Right,
with.
I'm not gonna
Right.
agree with it, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna say like, well, I think that this whole thing's a psyop, and I'm not gonna be like
No,
full
you gotta
on.
hide your power level.
Right, so I had to hide my power levels and basically just kind of act like I'm just not in on all that.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
he won't bring it up again. So I'm telling him all that stuff, and I'm telling him, yeah, I just don't really know what I could do for Ukraine, man. Like it's just not. I mean, I don't know. And how am I going to know what's really going on over there if I'm hearing it from CNN or Fox News and people who A aren't over there and B don't have, you know, the
Right.
truth as their best interest.
Right.
Um,
This is the patently obvious correct take.
right. And he's like, well, I mean, one thing you could do is like if you're, informed about it, you could realize, there's a lot of suffering that's going on over there and like try to speak up for people who are suffering. And I was like, dude, yeah, I'm sure it sucks living in Ukraine right now. That's
Dude,
a no brainer.
this guy's getting a little bit aggressive with it.
Dude, yeah, it was getting a little bit pointed. And I was like, yeah, I just don't know, man. I just, like I said, I try to stay out of it. Okay, so the conversation dies down. And like, because we had met at like a focal point where we both had to grab tools and we were both going to head out and kind of do it was like kind of like water cooler talk in a way.
Sure.
um so about 45 minutes later, we haven't talked. We're both doing our own things. He comes up.
Dude, the story just keeps going and it's making me more
it,
anxious.
it should. So he comes up to me and he had apparently been stewing on it based on what he says next, because I'm just sitting there,
Yeah,
handing some dirt.
because libs don't know how to have a normal conversation about this.
Right. I'm just sitting there handing the dirt, just like, doing my thing, gardening. And he's like, no, no intro or anything. He just goes, yeah, I guess I was just kind of trying to get a read on where you were at, on all this kind of. And I was like, yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not really in on it. I try not to be too political. And he goes, yeah, I know, but it's just like, there's real stuff happening. Like January 6th, that was real.
Ah,
That was
ah.
real and that happened. And I just didn't say anything. And he goes, I'm sure you know about January 6th. And I was like, I mean, I've heard about it. I don't care about it. Like, I'm not.
Is that what you said? Is that what you
Yeah, I was like, I just
said?
said I've heard about it. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. Like, I heard
Right.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm normal.
he's like, well, there was like real violence and like someone died. And I was like, sure, yeah. I mean, there's going to be violence popping up everywhere right now because people are getting more like radicalized on both sides, and so like as we continue this downward spiral economically, people are just going to kind of like, start popping off like that. And there's also other factors, but yeah, that's just going to happen.
But you said the both sides thing, and so it's like
Basically,
he's activated at this point.
yeah, I was kind of trying to just get out of there. It's
Yeah.
non-confrontationally as possible, but without accepting any bullshit. And so yeah, he got activated, and he's trying to tell me about he's just trying to tell me about half the country believes in this stuff and blah 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 and this and that and the other.
Bro.
And I'm just the whole time just telling him, yeah, dude, I just like, I don't do all that. I really don't do all that. I try to stay
Shut the
out of it.
fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I don't know. Basically, that's just how that went. And I told him, I was like, yeah, man. As far as the news goes, both sides are gonna push terrible lies, and so I try to stay out of that too. And with the January 6th thing, like, I think that that was something everyone knew was gonna happen. Um, so like, it's just, I don't know. I have nothing to do with it. Like, I just kept telling him, I have nothing to do with all that. No matter who I would like. I told him, I was like, oh, I just don't vote, so I'm not worried
Oh
about
well,
that.
that guy. How did you tell him that early?
Yeah, well, when he told me about the January
Yeah.
6th thing, he told me about the January 6th thing, and he was like, it was a real thing because half the country actually believes that the person who won the last election didn't win the last election. And I stopped him as he was talking and go, yeah, I just don't really vote, or like, so I'm not too worried about that.
Dude, that's a big no-no, though.
No, I know, but dude, fuck, I thought maybe that would be the real ejection thing. It's like, I'm not even a player in this game. Like, I'm not on the same board.
Yes.
My piece is not on this board. So like, why are we still rolling the dice? What are we
Right.
doing?
You're talking about the Sandlot, and I'm
Right,
you
100%,
know,
bro.
I'm interested in RBI averages.
Basically, that's how it went. And so I told him that he didn't like it. He was trying to tell me basically.
He didn't like
He was like,
it.
"Yeah, I mean, I guess I see why people like could just feel like the whole thing's a sham and like it just doesn't matter." And I was
I
like,
wonder if
"Right."
that has anything to do with the fact that it is a fucking sham.
Right, and that's what I try to tell him. And I was like, and I just kind of wrapped it up by telling him, end of the day, it's all kind of like, it's not really good no matter which way you cut it. And as things keep getting worse, it's going to keep, getting worse as far
Getting
as
worse.
politics. So I just think that's what's happening. And it's unfortunate because I wish it didn't happen, obviously. I really wish things would be better,
Yeah,
but they're
exactly.
not. And I don't have much hope for them to be that way.
It'd be cool if the schizo stuff, for the most part, stayed online.
Right. And I was like,
all of our parents have gotten a lot more annoying in the last few years.
right, like this man has gotten more annoying in the past few years, I'm sure. um, so
Oh,
yeah,
for sure, dude.
I basically was just telling him all that and giving him those lines and told him like, at the end of the day, whoever I vote for, like my economic situation still gets worse. Like no matter who's in there, and like culturally, I don't have any dog in the race as far as that stuff goes a lot of the time, and I stay out of it. And it kind of died down.
Good, good.
And he hasn't said anything political since. Like the past few days have been just back to like talking about music and whatever else. So I think I think we've passed that.
So you're working for a shit lib, huh?
Right, right. But that was what I determined, and also it was disappointing because I liked the guy. I still do like him. I mean, he's a good guy, but he's just
Yeah.
so caught up in the news cycle, and
He
like
can't. He can't. He's fucking brainwashed.
right, he's completely brainwashed, and it's not something he can help. And he's like, I think it's because they're preying on empathy at the end of the day, is what a lot of it is, and like trying to
Yeah.
get these people to think that like if you're the most informed by these shit rags, and you can like make the right decisions in your public conversations, and then maybe
Right.
through a trickle down effect or something, one immigrant gets food or something. I don't know, some kind of weird shit like that. Some type of mental gymnastics they have working out to where they think that this makes them a good person, but really what you're doing is making me uncomfortable at work. Because like what at what point in time did it become cool and like normal to talk about one's political views at work, one's religious stances at work? Like for the longest time that was very taboo. Like you just don't do that at work.
Yeah,
And
because it shit fucking should be taboo because that shit's fucking weird, dude.
right, dude, and that's like has always, I feel like that's how it has been. And like it,
I think like it's okay. It's okay to just be like, yeah, like I went to church today or something like that.
oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
right, basic
But
stuff.
being like, fucking, are you a religious man? Is like, well, all right. I mean, why do you want to know that?
Right.
It's
And
but
I would have thought nothing about it either, because like previously the week before we were talking about it's fish fry season and stuff like that, and so like I had thought nothing about it. In the area I'm in, it's a very religious area, and like it was like the Rome of the West for a long period of time and stuff like that. Like it's very strongly centralized, very Catholic here and stuff. So I figured he probably was raised in that, whatever. And I would have never thought anything about it if he didn't follow up that question with silence and then start talking about Fox News. Um,
Christ.
so then that's when I was like, wait, what? But I don't know. I'm still like, I'm still trying to go into it with a good, good
Well,
mind about
listen,
it.
man. I
But
mean, it's still like the people I'm like, dude, I'm surrounded by fucking libs all the
right,
fucking
all
time.
the
You know what I
time,
mean? So,
all
so
the
it's
time.
it's like that's not, I'm not like that. That still is like that's fucking a little egregious there, but it's not any big deal, right?
Yeah,
Like again, it's just the whole thing, right? Of like that guy. It's like I'm sure he's a fine, decent person. He's just a victim of the fucking propaganda machine.
yeah.
That's all it is. And honestly, though, I feel like, and this is just judging by my impressions online, so not really real, but like it seems like Southern libs and leftists are like the most annoying ones.
Dude, it's terrible. They have this weird thing where they're like, I was like raised in the darkness. Bane, like
Yes,
Bane.
exactly.
They
It's
feel like the
it's like,
Bane liberal, dude.
dude, it's like how like women are like obsessed with cults now, and all of it is just like coded speak for just being like this person grew up in like a Christian household that wasn't just like completely cucked Protestantism.
hmm
And like it's like it like cults are like the new true crime podcast for women.
hmm
And like yeah, it's like that's fucking Southern like lib leftists
It sucks, dude.
are like
It's
true crime podcasts of politics.
Yeah, dude. And it's the same level of annoyance that I get from it too, because like these are the people that'll drive around and they'll have stickers that'll be like a blue dot in a red state. That's like a big thing that people
Oh my
do
god.
down there. Like they'll put it on their Yaris or whatever. Slap it on the back of that fucking shit box and go. But I mean, they develop a certain like level of like I know better kind of vibe. But
I just, I
really,
just, I just love that shit of just being like, oh man, like you don't understand how it feels to be the odd man out in that way, and it's like, oh man, I've no idea. It's not like recently there was an entire year where I wasn't allowed in restaurants or
right?
movie
Literally a second class
these
citizen.
fucking retards.
Dude, okay, hold up. I didn't even mean to talk about this yet, but you just mentioned that. And
Mm,
okay, so when I was in my job search last month,
yeah.
I went to an interview and it was
Okay.
at a garden center and it was outside. Mostly I would be like organizing, plants, watering them, trimming, whatever. And I go and I sit down, I'm talking with these two older ladies, and they're, sweet older ladies. We're having a great conversation. My interview goes well, and they're like, yeah, you're basically exactly what we're looking for. This is perfect, blah blah blah.
Wait, when was this?
A month ago, before I found this job, and
Oh, okay, that's cool.
as I'm walking out the door, they're like, "Hey,
Are you vaccinated?
one last question: Are you vaccinated?" And I was like, "Oh no." And they were like, "Would you get vaccinated?" And I was like, "No."
No.
And they were like, "All right, okay, well." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And so I just left.
And that's
But
it.
yeah, that was it. But dude, how crazy is that in 2023 to still be asking people at a job interview if they're vaccinated? That's
I mean,
nuts to me.
it's like there's just not really any. I hate invoking this concept because it's such a fucking like intellectual dark web dork shit, but it's just a lack of critical thinking. Like
Literally.
it just doesn't really make any fucking sense. Like every dude, the vaccine stuff is fucking weird generally because it's like it has just been this kind of like just flop,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everybody simultaneously acts like it was and it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
people acknowledge that it didn't do what they want, and people don't even really do the thing anymore where they're like, "Yeah, now it's because the unvaccinated chuds." Like people aren't even really doing that,
No.
right? People are just kind of acknowledging that it didn't really do what we were told it was going to do, right? And it's just I don't know, it's just weird, man. Like everybody's just still operating on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought we were kind of in a period of like we're past that memory hole status almost now. Like people that got it don't really want to think about the fact that they got it because they realize it didn't do anything, and like you don't want to draw too much attention to it because now there's like articles coming out where they're in a mainstream publication saying natural immunity is just as good. So I thought we're in a period where it's like we're past all that.
Right.
So to encounter it in like a real way, I mean, that's the first time I've had anyone ask me that in like probably a year and a half, like a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And that was just crazy. I don't know. I don't see how people are still operating in that mind frame. It's like, yeah, it's like you're saying, it's like they still have old programming or something that they're stuck in.
I mean,
Um,
you know, I had someone like kind of do like a little mention of something the other day of just like, well, you know, because these days like we just don't believe vaccines work, and like, and it's just kind of one of these things of like, what do you even like? Are you talking about the fucking mRNA? Like, what?
yeah, yeah,
What? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just fucking weird. Like, well, I think honestly, part of it is it's just like it's not even a fucking we haven't even gotten into election season,
yeah,
and so the narratives are frayed, and they've been left to kind of rest a little bit and get into a state of disrepair because we're not in a fucking election. Which, by the way, this feels. I just reminded myself it's fucking 2023. We're gonna have primaries this year.
100%. And there's
Um,
like, I feel like it's quiet right now about that.
there's no fucking energy about it at
Hmm.
all, right? It doesn't feel like it at all. It feels like we're fucking 3 years away from one.
Hmm.
Um, and like we're gonna have fucking debates this year, dude.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's wild. The only thing I've heard about it is I had one friend the other day come up and talk about it. Like we were just getting stoned,
mhm.
and he's like, he's like a news cycle guy, but like prides himself on being like, yeah, I'm open to everyone's opinion, and like I let my friends
Sure.
say whatever they want to around me or whatever. But he's like, I don't know, I can't get a great read on. He's just one of those guys that likes to be contrarian in general. But he brings up
No,
that he heard Ron DeSantis is going to be probably going to be having the Republican nomination. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, dude. That's like been
yeah,
the talk for the past 2 years.
yeah.
It's either him or Trump. That's what it's been. That's what it's going to be. But anyways, so he starts talking about it a bit. So I mean, I guess that's really the only involvement I've had with it. Um, so yeah, it's pretty quiet because that's the same news. I mean, that's the same old news everyone knows. So
Dude, can I just say one quick thing about Ron DeSantis really fast?
mhm,
It's just like the DeSantis situation has been changing so much so quickly
yeah,
for a while now, and it's this thing where like this is going to be a real bold statement, and I don't have a ton to base it on, but like I just get the feeling that as this kind of like I don't really consider myself an ex-leftist because I still think of myself as being left-wing,
hmm,
but like that's ostensibly as like just this kind of ex-leftist factor in the right coalition. I feel like I'm supposed to be in the ring, being the person that's like it's got to be DeSantis,
mm,
and like, do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
definitely.
And like, I don't. It reminds me a little bit of like that socialists for Trump ad where
Yeah.
it's like okay, like like Tucker is right wing shit for leftists, right? Um, and like DeSantis is kind of trying to do that same thing, and it's just like I don't know, like I don't, it's not really into it, um, or I don't know, I'm not as I feel like I'm being psyoped to
100%.
like DeSantis, and I haven't disliked DeSantis really for the most part, but now I don't know. There's like a lot more doubts about him at this
Hmm.
point, and now I feel like I feel like I'm being psyoped into liking this guy,
Hmm.
and it makes me instantly withdraw a little bit.
Yeah, that was my initial take on him, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
people were like, DeSantis is the man. Like, a lot of post leftist type individuals were coming out at that period of time. I don't know, probably about a
Dude,
year
it's
ago.
it's been so long since I've heard that phrase. It literally sounds so bizarre now
Right, but
to say post left.
that's what it was at a time. Or like,
It was.
that
What is
that
it? What is it now? I wonder.
I don't know, man. That's something I've been wondering. I feels like that was just a bubble that popped.
It's just Amy Therese.
Yeah, who knows what that fucking broad's up to now? What's the deal with this broad, bro?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, probably nothing good. But anyways, yeah, it feels kind of like when I first saw people talking about DeSantis, I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, I don't know if I like to look at this guy. I don't know if I like to vibe with this guy. Like, he strikes me as someone that the neocons and the neolibs, the conventional right and the conventional left, can be okay with.
Mm.
And that's kind of what he's been sold as the entire time. Like, he has been sold the entire time as like, he's a little bit more refined. He's more actually of a political mind than Trump. He's like Trump that wore a suit. He's, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Which is
He's from their elite
right.
institutions.
And
He has the pedigree.
mm-hmm.
100%.
And that's a
100%.
red flag for me. That's very unsettling. So like,
Yeah.
I saw that and I started looking into it, and then I saw like, yeah, his pedigree and also like his stuff about Israel. And then you can explain the Israel stuff because yeah, there's a lot of like,
Everybody's like that with
right,
Israel.
everyone's like that. You have to be, and like there's a bunch of old Jews that live in Florida and this and that and the third. Whatever, you know what I mean?
It's just it's so funny. It's so unfortunate that just as a people that you're not allowed to say anything harsh towards, just literally their name sounds harsh.
Yeah. It's like
The
that Sunny
Jews.
and that Sunny skit where they're walking down the street in the park and they're talking about yeah, the Jews and Charlie's like, "Whoa, whoa, you can't say that. You can't say Jews." And he's like, "No, you can say Jewish. You can say Jew. It's fine."
You
It
literally
feels like you
can.
can't.
But then, no, it does. Dude. I literally had a class where in one of the classes, somebody was like, it's actually funny because this was literally, dude, fucking another callback. Somebody was like, "Is Michael Bay a Jew?" And
Whoa.
everyone in the class was just like, "Whoa, you can't say that, right?"
Early
And there's
life.
and then, but pull that shit up, Jamie. And it's just it's kind of funny how like I've always kind of just thought that whole thing of going like, look, dude, like there's no cloak and dagger conspiracy in like showbiz for Jews, and that's why you're not fucking allowed to ever say that they like are that they're heavily represented in showbiz at all, and
Hmm.
that like makes it seem like it's exactly what they're kind of trying to deny
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. I of course have no opinion on the matter, but
Jewish people are very fine people. A lot of great
very
people in that religion. A lot of great people on both sides. You know what I mean? Regardless of what
yeah,
they did, it's okay.
exactly, dude. A lot of great people on both sides of the West Bank. Um, yeah, I wish them all
Fuck.
the best. Anyways,
Yeah, but I got a little bit wary of Ron DeSantis just from all that
right,
stuff.
I honestly thought you were gonna say I've got a little wary of the Jews.
Well, that's a given, bro. Let's get. We're working on that one. That's just kind of being part of the cosmological story I'm working with. Um,
Absolutely, that's part of my story.
I mean, that's my lived truth.
That's my lived truth. That's my favorite Hitler quote.
Oh my
Um,
fucking god.
sorry, it's not Mein Kampf. It's my lived truth. Um,
That's really what it would be nowadays, dude. For real.
it's like published by Bell Hooks.
Why is it
Anyways,
that a lived truth is the same thing as a struggle now? You're literally you're tapping into something right now. They could
am I
be
really?
like some influencer on Instagram that puts up those infographics and like stuff like that on social media. One of
Yeah,
those people
they're
could,
like that Google art style.
yeah, a terrible
Really?
Google font.
Yeah.
Someone like that could easily put out a memoir called just called something like that, like My Lived Truth. And it's basically our current version of Mein Kampf. If you think
My
about it,
struggle.
I mean, like they're basically part of a fascist regime. You know,
Dude, I've got this little idea I've been thinking about. I don't know if you agree, but you know, feminist, feminazi. Am I right?
whoa,
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. These
yeah,
fucking
dude,
broads.
these
These
broads are
fucking
crazy.
broads. Yeah, dude.
What's the deal with
Dude.
these broads, dude?
You know what really happened, what went wrong in Weimar, Germany? They started sending women to college.
Dude, they start letting those women read.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know, man. Dude. Fucking women are passionate about social justice. I don't know if you knew that.
They are, but they're actually passionate right now about just like I don't know,
Fucking
getting
teens.
all their stuff stomped out by trans people. That's something I've been thinking about recently.
Dude, this
Um,
fucking I honestly am very impressed at how quickly we just like circled the drain and went down all the way into it's just about children now.
yeah,
Like no, like I like people used to say that, and I used to be like, I used to think it was the whole like what was the Basil was kind of insane, but
God bless him. The boy was right about some things, though.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean everybody has something. Most people have something worth listening to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like his that phrase he had of just like critique the excesses, reify the premises
Yeah.
is such a great one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that's what the I always thought that that's what it was when people were in my mind like punting and being like, well, I don't support medical intervention for children, but like, it's like being like, like if if my neighbor was schizophrenic and just decided to chop his arm off, I mean, that's his path. But as long as a kid's not going to do that, it's like that's
his struggle.
You're ducking, right? And to be honest, I still think that probably was an accurate take on that I had, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that said that are now just doing a total about face because they can't actually have a novel opinion about anything. But like, dude, it's fucking insane. It's just actually all about children now. That's how this issue is living on, and I mean,
dude, that's tied in pretty well with the Ron DeSantis thing because like that's the main thing that he's been catching shit for recently. So I mean, despite
just crapping down on the trans stuff,
yeah, just like the gender interventions for minors and stuff like that. But also the Disney thing.
Governors are doing this shit.
Like
it's happening all over.
Yeah, but I feel like he kind of like led the charge on it.
Totally. Well, and I think this thing that's happening of all of these governors doing this stuff and really making moves is like he was the guy who made the model for that,
right?
Like having that state level government action is like something that I think him and Rufo are like really kind of, you know what I mean? I mean, this was another take that has been around for a while, which is just like DeSantis just literally shouldn't run for president because he's more useful at a governor level. I think that I don't know a lot about California, but I would imagine that that's how Dems should probably feel about Newsom, right?
Dude, I don't know anything about California, and I can't imagine how you could think Newsom's doing a good job. But
I don't think he's doing a good job, but I just think like it's just like California is like a huge resource, right?
Oh, definitely,
and all of that. And so you want a company man in the job, right? It doesn't matter if they're
gonna have that though. It's California, dude. They're gonna have a Dem in there regardless, and if it's gonna be a company man, like, dude, Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger, bro, like.
But think about it like this. Right? Like you have a franchise, right? You have a big business and all these franchises, and your biggest earner, right, has like this really great manager, right? Well, I mean, it's a great restaurant, so you're probably going to get pretty good managers coming in any case, right? But like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? And when your fucking biggest franchise is like one of the biggest economies on the fucking face of the planet. And if this gets disrupted, then like fucking 30% of your fucking votes in the election are gone, or at least hindered. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's something I don't really think about a lot, but it's like it is like the Dems are in like a really they do have an interesting electoral strategy, just in that it's like their eggs are in just like basically one or two baskets, and so they got to make sure that shit's well tended to. So yeah,
you can't have someone that's in California running California that's like not going to go along with the agenda.
Yeah, and I mean we've had Republicans in California in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what we're looking at now.
No, I don't think that's what we're looking at. But I'm just saying that like there are things that like a person does from the governor's office that can be, it's like you don't want to neglect that.
Yeah, no, the point about I think my only thing about that was that I was trying to say that the point about DeSantis is more correct than about Newsom in my view, because I think that DeSantis is more politically useful, maybe. Like you can make that argument as a governor in a more meaningful way than I think Newsom is, because Newsom is very much so just an empty suit. Like he's like, I don't think no one really relates with him or likes him either. So like, I don't know. I don't know that I think you could put any other shitlib in there and they would do the exact same thing Newsom's doing, and they would work just as well with the DNC. and with their
I was I
goals.
was I was trying to be a little more even handed and give like an example on both sides. I think obviously DeSantis is less of an empty suit. I think the factor with DeSantis more is just like he's a little bit he's just a little sketchy.
Oh, he's super sketchy.
And like and his history is just he's just it's like kind of just like another
Mm-hmm.
Zionist conservative fucking he was like Skull and Bones in college like
Yeah, that's
fucking
terrible.
yeah dude like John Kerry alum type shit and
Worst
it's like
case scenario.
that it actually is. It's kind of funny that I'm just saying it casually because that's like so fucking
I didn't
egregious.
even know that, dude. I didn't even know he was in the Skull and Bones. Now that you've said that, that's even worse for me. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I'm not saying all this stuff for no reason.
right.
It is just like, and yeah, and I don't know. Like, I get the. I mean, it's just funny because like we like obviously like have like played a part in it that's probably larger than most people, but just the whole the branding for the like displaced left wingers
Mm-hmm.
and libs on the right is just weird
It's just
and
because
it
the trans issue. The only reason these people
yeah
are misplaced, leftists in the first place, is largely boiled down because of one pivot issue, and that pivot issue is trans people, because that's been
I,
so strongly made like the discourse over the past
I
couple of
will also
years.
say I will also say the anti-war movement
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
anti
yeah, dude. Okay, DeSantis said the other day, kind of based. He said, "quote um, Assisting Ukraine is not one of our top priorities," which is like that's not a lot. That's not saying almost anything
no
at all.
it's
But that's more. That's like a lot better than saying like, yeah, we support Ukraine. Like so.
saying like authoritarian weird platitudes about fucking protecting democracy
Yeah,
and
and
like
shit like
the
that.
way of life and shit. And it's
Right.
just
So
horrible.
yeah, there's the anti-war thing, but I think largely it's about the trans thing, and that's like
100%. Well, and also the anti-war people have like always been a little bit weird. Like there's like a lot. There's always been like a lot of like Trotskyists and shit
yeah,
like
yeah.
that in the anti-war movement, and it's like a lot of the time it's just kind of like, all right, like what's the deal with a lot of these people?
What's the deal with this
Um,
broad?
what is the deal with these broads? And so yeah, but yeah, I think the trans thing is a big thing. Well, I mean, look, dude, I'm like talking to some of my normie friends the other day, and they'll like nobody says anything super. Nobody wants to really say anything super bold, right? But like people kind of like scan the room and they're like, oh, that person's gender fluid, right? And then kind of and you can kind of tell everybody's like, well, it's kind of bullshit, right? We all know it's bullshit. And then honestly, the people that don't say it's bullshit, which like I definitely have a couple of friends that are like that, are just so obviously repressed.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the big things is just that like I think that people just very immediately understand when they're just like being made to feel really repressed.
Yeah.
And men especially, it's just this kind of shit of like, all right, like, dude, I don't know, man. The whole boomer thing of like happy wife, happy life has become like an entire model for like state control over people. Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, you're right.
it's like completely serious, dude. It's like, dude, if you like don't like pick like a partner well, like you're just gonna be living with like a fucking disciplinarian for the state.
Right.
Um, and it's just and the problem, honestly, one of the biggest problems with men is just that like they're fucking passive, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Men will just like go along to get along, and it's like, dude, like they're castrating children. I don't know. Well, and see, and there I go, right? I'm playing into the whole thing, which is like it is a good way of getting people's attention.
I mean, of course.
It is just also just like, and as you know, I mean, we've talked about this so much. Like the trans stuff is like catnip,
Mm-hmm,
right? It's
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
like it's really alluring. It's really tantalizing. But
Yeah,
like,
shiny object.
yeah, but it's just treats, dude. It's
Mm-hmm.
just treats. Not to be mistaken with treat discourse.
Right. I think
Um,
a big thing that happened with the post left kind of like bubble popping, and then like these like ex leftist and new right or whatever that is in this like DeSantis camp that you're talking about. Um, I feel like it's a combination of like I think a couple of the rifts that happened with like whatever that bubble was like idealism versus pragmatism,
Mhm.
as well as like the gender issue. Um, and I think that the gender issue kind of like caused rifts and stuff, and caused certain people to be like, this is the most important thing because it is something that is important. Like it is very
It's very
salient.
important.
It's happening. It affects people on a material basis right now today.
It's funny
Um,
because it mechanically does it does basically the exact same process on either side of the aisle.
hmm Oh no,
Um,
definitely. And I think people get caught like people have now viewed that as the pragmatic avenue to follow, because that is like we've always said it. People get caught up in like not caught up, but people the battlefield politically is more in cultural issues. Now you can say that's not just a cultural issue, but at the end of the day, versus an economic issue, that is a cultural issue. And the battleground in American politics is typically going to be in that realm. And so people are seeing that this is a topic that matters to me, that is important. They are castrating children. It is a real thing. And it's also indicative of the entire ideology.
yeah,
And so they're seeing that and wanting to fight it and seeing that as the most pragmatic way to fight the whole beast is with this little piece because it is like a fractal of the whole, basically. And so the people who are more pragmatic minded are saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and vote for, you've got to play the game now because there's this thing that's really important that's happening to all of us, and that we all have a say on. And even if the people that I like on this issue don't actually support the broader things I want to support, this is important because this is pragmatically what we could do right now. And I think a lot of people are following that camp more. I'm not saying that's wrong or right. Just saying that's just like a thing I think is
it's
happening.
animating. It's animating for people. It's
Yeah.
very obviously animating for people, and you get really motivated voters, and it intersects in a lot of ways, right? Because everybody just lives through the fucking TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, like, those people, those fucking annoying people that just like constantly are like talked about a weird amount on TV, um, that aren't black people, and that like are constantly just like whining at everybody because everything everyone likes is for some reason bad and not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like everybody kind of has a bone to pick because of media. And then like, there's it intersects with the school and family
Right.
stuff. It's a good pop politics issue, which I guess isn't really very good phrase because I think that stuff is like bad. But and again, like we're saying, it's like we're not saying that it isn't like a real issue, right? Like I'm definitely very transphobic. And, I don't know. Like I know that you probably have different feelings about like that term, right? But like,
I mean, I don't really
but
care. I'm not going to go around calling myself that, but if someone says that, I'm like, you're probably using the term correctly based upon the way that it's socially understood and used now colloquially. I'm not scared of them, you know what I mean? But like, I think that
I'm
overall
not
it's not
scared.
good. You know what I
No, they
mean?
don't. I'm definitely not scared of them. Um, yeah, man. Um, I don't even know what
I
I was
just feel like
saying.
it seems like the thing that's more in reach.
It's a
And so
trap.
people that are more pragmatic minded and worried about the gender thing, that was like two rifts that were happening in the post left, and that's kind of led a path right to the Ron DeSantis, because he is a politician. He's pragmatic. He does things in the political sphere. He is making strong stances on the gender thing. He's leading the country in that way. So it's like this seems like something that like the tide can be turning on actually, in a way. And so it feels like a way to actually get involved. But in my mind, the way I see it, and this is just me personally, and it could be wrong, and there's 1,000 reasons why you could vote for Ron DeSantis or whatever.
Mhm.
But I just think that, like, I don't know. I personally think that Ron DeSantis is almost kind of like a Bernie figure, but for that, like, where people are ultimately could have these, they want to see a different type of politics. And they
Mhm.
have this thing where it's like, we're going to try to envision a new type of politics. And then they get to, you know, nothing ends up happening. It fizzles out. And then you just say, oh, I'm going to be pragmatic now. And I'm going to vote for the guy that's in, you know, in the camp. It may not be the best guy that I like, but there's one thing that he talks about that I care about that's important. Even though he's ultimately probably still a member of the original camp I don't like and going to capitulate to them when it comes
Right. It's just,
time.
and so it's just like, no, I mean, like, I just listen, like, I had to support more aid to Israel because that was the only way we were gonna own the trannies.
Right. And it's the same thing that I felt like Bernie was kind of in a way where it's like, this is the only guy it's like what I actually want a restructuring of our economy around production, but someone that's talking about, like universal health care or whatever, that's kind of in the vein of what I'm looking for, seems like the best option. And it just ends up, it's just kind of going back from like people that had an idea of wanting to start a new political vision to going back into let's just play the same old games we've always played because they're important. Now, whether or not that's right, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that's what I think's happening.
Yeah, I bet all of the post-left people have completely assumed the roles that they were designed to have of like just being totally split between Trump and DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, I think the role they were supposed to have was just to be DeSantis.
Right.
But yeah. I don't know, man. It's
Well, I will say that he did do the Disney takeover thing. That's actually in effect now. So like
no, and listen. I mean, I'm saying all of this stuff, like genuinely saying, like I don't know. I mean, like I'm gonna vote for because I vote right,
mm-hmm.
and I'll vote for him. You know, I'll vote for him. But I do feel like I don't
being
know. Well, it's
bamboozled.
also just like I don't even know how to like define what is me being psyoped into supporting somebody and me being having my vote courted. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't. You know, it does feel like being psyoped because it's like at the end of the day, all of these fucking conservatives are still going to be talking about fucking how actually all of this stuff is just postmodern Marxism,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, all right, like no, you're fucking retarded,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? I don't know. So
Still missing the forest for the trees.
100%. It's like like how long can you really um, be like allied with people who've arrived at the same places as you, but for almost the exact opposite reasons.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How long is that really built to last?
Yeah, that's kind of my take on the whole thing. Like that's kind of that's like my disillusionment with the whole like post left stuff and the people that I see going down that. And it's not like I'm making a character judgment or anything. It's just like
I am. They're all horrible people.
For me, it's like I just felt like we were doing something different. You know what I mean? It's like I thought we were trying to figure something different out. You know what I mean? And we're not now. Now we're capitulating.
I thought it was really Nas ball time.
Yeah,
and it was just all Nas and no ball.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not that I think that like, oh, we're actually gonna build something here, but it's like
Sure.
at least there was a sect of people who were talking about like a new type of politics, and I feel like we've devolved away from a new type of politics into business as usual. But this is why it's important, and to me, that's not something I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say I'm fence sitting, or people can say like whatever about that, and I get that critique, but for me, it's just like I want to do something different, and it feels like this is not that. But then I'll probably sit around and if he gets not elected, I probably would still bitch next time COVID stuff happens and we get COVID lockdowns, and maybe if he was elected, we wouldn't have. Who knows? But like at the end of the day, that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, amen to that.
I just like to see something fucking different. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with like doing like capitulate here and there or whatever, but like let's actually try to do something different rather than like now it's just every 4 years or every 2 years it's just back onto the same bullshit. And it's like I don't know, there's never actually an articulation of a different type of politics at all because it's just getting completely drowned out by the same bullshit over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just idealist in me because like who knows if there can even actually be another type of, there isn't any other type of politics probably. So like fuck, but I would hold out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the main thing right now. I mean, I think one of the big things right now is just letting the process run its course,
right?
Which is just like, I mean, shit's just like falling apart. I mean, there's this fucking Silicon Valley Bank stuff going on. I mean, like, I guess we're gonna have bank failures
Yeah, I've been hearing
again.
about that. That
You
doesn't
know,
sound good at all.
yeah, and I'm not even bringing this up as a segue. I'm just saying like it's one of many examples because we're getting that all the time, right? I know, and there's a kernel of truth to this that it's like, yeah, it's like totally just like a kind of a dumb meme just to be like whatever, like I'm totally checked out and like whatever. But like at a certain point, we all know you can't really deny like this process is accelerating. It very obviously is accelerating, and so I don't know. Like, I don't really. I think that the system is probably going to fail in some
Mm-hmm.
way. Hopefully, it's not like a way that resolves in all of us getting like fucking vaporized.
Right.
But I don't really think that our input really has much effect one way or the other on
Mm-hmm.
if it's gonna when it's gonna fail. I think I think people can like speed it up, right?
Yeah.
But I don't really want to.
That's kind of what I was trying to tell my boss when he was talking about all of it, bro. It's like, listen, man, I got nothing to do with it. Like, what am I
Yeah,
gonna really do? At the end of the day. So that's kind of what it feels like a little bit. Um, yeah, it's almost kind of
absolutely.
like it feels like we're kind of on a track that feels like it's fucked. I hope and I pray, and God willing, we will get it together as a people and as a race of humans, and like as a country or whatever. I guess you start as a country, and then hopefully from there we'll get it together as all of humanity. But I don't think we will.
Well,
Um,
but listen, right? Like I want people to be more alienated. You know what I mean? Like I want it to get worse before it gets better, so that people can actually fucking get their fucking heads out of their
right.
asses, right? Like it genuinely.
It just has to happen.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm sneezing. Oh god damn it. That's frustrating. Like just it blows my mind that there are people I know that lived through the last 4 years and just didn't and still just believe in this shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's wild to me. That is wild to me. The idea, even the idea that anyone could just like live through seeing all of the George Floyd shit and just be like, yeah, dude, like the will of the people and mass demonstrations and protests, that's like a
It
real
works.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like no, it's not. It's not a fucking real thing. This is all fake and gay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, yeah, like, but there are people that are still going back to the trough, right? And so I just like the worse things get, right? It's going to really hurt people, and it's important to keep that in mind because that's bad, right? But also, like the worse things get, the more people are going to wake up to the fact that there is like that it's terminal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna fucking actually get to a workable consciousness in view of this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that's good because
Yeah.
like in some ways too, it's like I want some of my friends back.
Of
Not
course, dude.
not like I mean these are people that are I'm still hanging out with and shit like
It's
that. But it's
different
like
though.
yeah, I want my friends. I want to be able to have a real conversation about what fucking constitutes reality with
Mm-hmm.
my friends.
Yeah, you're watching
You know,
people go around and like not actually live the way that they're meant to be, and not actually think the things that they would organically think, and like just kind of absorbing stuff like a sponge.
yep.
And they're absorbing the wrong stuff because the environment around them is fucked, and they're getting introduced to the wrong stuff, and it's frustrating. And even though those people are still there and you still love them very much, it can be frustrating because it feels like this is not actually who they should be, um, or who they would want to be, and who they are, and underneath all of it. And if they got in contact and in touch with their spirit, duality, or whoever they are, got more in contact with the world around them, or they got just able to snap out of some of this brainwashing stuff, maybe they would be a little bit closer to what they need to be for all of us to get one step closer to fulfilling our destiny as a race of people. Because I think ultimately everyone needs to be the best they can be. It needs to be like the truest to themselves and to their like not their identity, but to their true self, as they should, or as they can be. And at that point, I think we would have a little bit better grasp on how to come together and like envision a shared reality. Um, But yeah, it takes rock bottom moments to actually get there as a person.
100%.
Shit. Slav, I think I might have to go here soon. So we can maybe just call it here. And then,
down here.
Yeah, we've got a good bit of topics that we didn't get to that we can just recycle and keep for next time around. So,
sure. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, fucking, we'll wrap it up. Talk to y'all next week. And, why don't you go ahead and hit the stop button there.
Sweet. God bless. And that concludes part 1 of this week's episode of These People Are Sick. If you enjoyed part 1 and would like to listen to part 2, you can find that on patreon.com at patreon.com/thesepeoplearesick. Once again, that is patreon.com/thesepeoplearesick. And we'd love to see you over there, as we've got additional exclusive content, as well as direct lines of communication with Slav and myself. So come on over and say hey.